Hello, everyone. Welcome to another backstage interview from the Metals Investor Forum. I'm Gwen Preston, and I'm happy to be joined now by Dave Cole of EMX Royalty. Dave, thanks for taking the time.
Always my pleasure, Gwen.
So, I was thinking about what we could talk about here right now that's just a little bit different than the details of EMX and the deals and what you're the details of the story. And to me, the crux of the EMX question sort of comes down to two things. One is that I feel like in 2021, the unbridled enthusiasm for royalty companies got a little bit of a check. So I feel like the royalties world went through a bit of a transition in how investors view it or what their expectations might be. And so I feel like that continues to play out. But at the same time, EMX in 2022 is having a banner year of dramatically increased cash flow, like a different paradigm of cash flow than you have ever experienced in your long existence as a royalty company. So that's what I wanted to get into now. So you want to just maybe start with the first half of that? What are your thoughts on the royalty space and what has happened in the last while and what that means for how investors, I don't know, should expect or think about the space?
Well, I oftentimes have a little bit more muted opinion about stock prices than a lot of folks, my contemporaries. I felt that royalty companies in general had reached the point of being overvalued. That might still be the case in the case of a couple of names. So I won't say who. And it was, I think it was very healthy for there to be a consolidation and a pullback within the sector. It was probably past due, which is not uncommon. These things usually go farther than they should. And I think that on the backside of that, what we're going to see is rather than everybody that has a royalty company and announces a deal, their stock price going up, instead, we're going to see a situation where companies have to actually perform and the market needs to or will, I should say, reward people with real assets.
Right.
And so that's the way I see things moving on from here. The way that I think the appropriate way to invest for that is to take advantage of this downturn and buy quality names.
Right.
And that's the way to do that. I hope that your statement with respect to our cash flow comes to fruition. I believe it will, but we're waiting for some significant events in the near term for sure.
Well, I mean, and you're not just waiting for them. You have manifested those outcomes through some big deals that you did in the second half of last year. So do you want to just briefly recap the big deals that you added to the EMX portfolio and, ballparks? I know it's very hard for lots of reasons for you to estimate what cash flows those will create for EMX. But do you want to just ballpark what they mean for the company?
So first of all, with respect to the question about estimating cash flows, we will be in a situation where we can start to give the market overall guidance for the entire company. Ironically, we've been doing some work on this in terms of what we're legally allowed to say. And there's, of course, 43101 regulations that are very strict with respect to each individual project and what has been announced on that specific project. But we do believe that we can coalesce that and start to give annual and quarterly guidance. And we hope to be able to start doing that in the near future. I think people are going to like those numbers and how they mature. Everything in the mining industry is always delayed. So we're going to see how 2022 actually pans out. But our run rate by the end of 22 is going to be something that people are going to pay attention to. And that has come to fruition via two avenues. It's come to fruition through the organic growth of assets within the pyramid moving up. We've talked about that for a long time. Very importantly, one of the key assets that's doing that is Balya. Balya is becoming a substantial lead zinc silver deposit and is going to move in towards full-scale commercial production. It's already in commercial production now, but it's going to be ramping up over the course of the next 5 years. And 5 years from now, it's going to be a large payer that would be several $1 million per annum at that point in time at today's lead zinc silver price. So we're excited about that. And then other aspects of the organic growth of the company starting to pay off as well. And then we've poured fuel on the fire through the acquisition of a couple of key royalty assets. The Caserones, which is porphyry copper system that's been ramping up production in Chile and operated by JX Nippon. Very delighted to receive those checks quarterly. And that's going to add a nice amount of money to our top line. Last quarter that we announced was 954,000 USD after tax, I believe. So, nice number coming in there. And then the next deal that we did is the transaction with SSR to make them a large shareholder in EMX Royalty Corporation. We're delighted to have them as a shareholder purchase their portfolio of royalties. The one that pays off the most handsomely in the near term is the 10% royalty on the oxide zone at Gediktepe, which, according to 43101 documents that are filed on that property, we expect it to cash flow on an annualized basis close to $15 million a year. So these are real cash flows coming in. They will be transformative to us. And that's all going on at the same time as the assets within that pyramid. And of course, we've been building the base of the pyramid for a couple of decades, are starting to work their way towards the top, which speaks to the concept of optionality, which is what makes royalties so awesome.
Absolutely. And when you talk about in the royalty space, going for real assets and getting the market likely paying attention to real assets and the numbers behind them and what they mean, as opposed to the momentum argument that had propelled the royalty space in 2020 and prior, which is just deals are good. I'm good at simplifying things.
That's right. That's good. That's an appropriate simplification.
We've always said in the royalty space that the real re-rating comes when you become, a significantly cash flow positive company. And that is part of the progression for any royalties company, whether you have an organic pyramid or whether you're just based on deals. And that is basically the crux of what's happening with EMX this year.
That's very well said. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Ask me the tough questions, Gwen.
Ask you the tough questions. Well, there are some out there.
Yeah.
I guess one is Gediktepe, a 10% royalty on the oxide. Yes. Why did SSR sell you that if it was going to start paying them $15 million? I mean, I think I know the answer that you're going to give, but I would
the same reason I think every major company sells a royalty portfolio, and that is it's not their core business. And they see an opportunity to get cash, to get shares. They believe that EMX will get re-rated. So a key component to that transaction was to get equity in us. And but in the meantime, they also got a nice check. And of course, mining companies always need more money for different projects that they have going on around the world. And so it's not uncommon for major companies to sell their royalty portfolios.
Fair enough. Just to end, this isn't particularly related to EMX, but you are someone who, as the head of EMX, looks across jurisdictions and looks across metals. Is there one metal in particular that you are excited about this year?
Well, we've already seen the price of nickel move a lot. We're very bullish nickel. We remain bullish nickel. That doesn't mean it won't go down in the near term after this large move, but long term, it's hard not to be bullish nickel. And then long term, also we think copper is just a fantastic commodity to be exposed to, and there's nothing wrong with precious metals.
Cover your bases, but I agree. Right? No, I agree for sure. Fantastic. Well, I think that covers some nice ground. So thanks for taking the time, and we'll catch up again soon.